What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And guys, I'm excited because I get to talk about Godzilla on 4K UHD from the Criterion collection. I've even got my Godzilla shirt on, guys, from Walmart. Isn't that something? And yes, that's the same Godzilla from the movie. That's the same Godzilla from this movie. I'm excited, guys. Can you tell? Godzilla on 4K. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the movie. This is my second time watching the movie. I watched it on, I think, Max like 3 or 4 years ago for the first time. So this is my second time watching the movie. I do want to dive into the movie a little bit again. Then we're going to talk about the 4K. Is this worth upgrading? If you already have the Blu-ray from the Criterion collection, because I know a lot of people had that question, is this worth upgrading? We'll dive into the sound as well, special features. I'll do an unboxing again because I just did a Barnes & Noble hunting video, pickup video where I went in store and bought a bunch of Criterions, and I did unboxings and all that stuff, and I unboxed the Godzilla, but we're going to unbox it again. If you guys don't know, though, Barnes & Noble, if you're new to collecting physical media, if you're new to the channel, Barnes & Noble is hosting a 50% off Criterion collection sale from right now till the end of November. So you can get the Criterion titles for 50% off, 4Ks for 25 bucks, and also Blu-rays for 20 bucks. So it's a pretty good deal. Before we get into it, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you haven't already. Comment down below your thoughts on Godzilla 1954. Is this your favorite Godzilla film? Where does this rank for you? I'll be 100% honest. I'm not the biggest Godzilla guy. Of the classic like Japanese Godzilla films, I pretty much just seen this. Okay, I've just seen this. I've seen Godzilla -1. I saw that in the theaters last year. Loved the movie. I've seen the newer Godzilla movies, Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla 2014, all that stuff. I, of course, have seen the 1998 version. Like, I loved that one. I watched that in the theaters when I was a kid. That one came out when I was 13. That was just the perfect age, that Independence Day, like, blockbuster era. So I love the remake just for nostalgic reasons. But going back and watching this movie and seeing just where it all began, how they kind of set the table, set the template for all the other Godzilla movies that would come after it. Even through all the ridiculousness, the Godzilla versus King Kong, the Mothra, all the craziness, all the insanity that would come after Godzilla 1954, which I haven't experienced yet. I do want to check these movies out at some point. It's definitely a franchise I want to get into. It started off, you know, so simple and so effective. Like the story here, it's really a commentary on war, and it's a commentary on weapons of mass destruction and what that does to somebody who creates it psychologically. Like a lot of the themes in this movie, if you've seen Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, are in this film. Like just what it does to a man's psyche to know that he's creating something that could kill millions of people. This movie really dives into that stuff. And to be honest, like there may have been a little bit of it in Godzilla -1, but I haven't seen any of that like heavy, like deep social, political war commentary in any of the other Godzilla movies that I've seen, even the newer ones. Like I feel like it dives into that a lot more heavy in the original. And the reason for that, I think, is because this came like so soon after the war. Like this literally was made 9 years after we dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like it was not that long at all. And this was pretty cool. I didn't realize this. I learned this from the special features, but America actually occupied Japan for a number of years, I think from 1945 to 1952, after the war ended. So this movie was made right after America left, and it was really kind of a response to the oppressiveness of the American military when they were there. I think that makes this movie just a lot more powerful and a lot more impactful with its messaging and its themes for sure. But just getting into the actual movie itself, it is, at the end of the day, a dumb, big monster movie. You know, Godzilla, he's reawakened by a hydrogen bomb, and he goes and just tramples all over Tokyo, takes out buildings, throwing cars and stuff like that. And look, it's well done. You have to keep in mind that this movie, okay, you have to keep this in mind. You cannot hold this to the standards of modern filmmaking today, okay? They did not have all the tools. They didn't have the CGI. They didn't have all the stuff that we have today to make movies and make elaborate set pieces and things like that. But what they had was a guy that they put in a Godzilla suit. They could make these incredible looking models. Like, honestly, they were really well done, of buildings, of cars. Now, I will say, like, watching this in 4K, you can definitely notice that some of the cars are model cars for sure. You have to understand, like, what they were working with. And I honestly, like, when I go back and watch a movie like this, when I go back and watch a movie like King Kong from 1932, like, I'm just so impressed by what they were able to do just with their vision and just their artistry and what they could do, what they could pull off with the limitations of what they had to work with. I'm just so much more impressed by that than I am nowadays with how movies are made. Like you could just tell that they put a lot of work into it, even though it doesn't look great by modern movie standards. It's still impressive that they were able to do this back in 1950. So the actual like destruction set piece moments and things that happen in this movie, they're really well done. And I think Godzilla actually does look really good in this movie, really menacing. He's the classic look. Like that's the classic look of Godzilla. He hasn't really changed a whole lot from this movie to now. Like you watch this, you watch Godzilla -1, he still has the same kind of stance. He's still walking the same way. He's still lumbering around the exact same way. It's not really that different. And why is it not that different? Because this is such a classic look and stance for Godzilla. The Americans, they tried to change it up and make him and turn him into a raptor. That didn't work. People rejected that. So ever since that, nobody's messed with the classic Godzilla look and the way that he lumbers around and destroys stuff. Like it's just too classic to mess with. That's why they don't do it. But I think it's great. I think this movie, honestly, with all the heavy like social, political, wartime commentary, the actual like destruction set pieces, the story, like the characters, you actually really feel for the characters and really get into the story in a way that I honestly like. I was thinking about this because I did love Godzilla -1. I don't think I felt for the characters in Godzilla -1 like I did in this original Godzilla. Like I really got into this movie and the characters. I do actually think this is probably the best Godzilla movie that there is. I do think that. And getting into the 4K, guys, this is a native 4K from the original 35mm camera negative. This was not done by the Criterion Collection. It was actually done by Toho. So I did think that was kind of interesting. That information was on the little booklet on the inside. But I thought this was a really good 4K. Now, I did go back and watch the Blu-ray. I did not buy the Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray is included in here. I did not have the Blu-ray edition that came out, I think, back in 2011. But this is a 13-year in the making upgrade. Like I said, they hadn't done a Blu-ray since the 2011 edition that came out. And I thought that this was a really nice upgrade. Now, there is some, chatter and people kind of being a little disgruntled about the fact that this does not have HDR. It doesn't have Dolby Vision. Now, do I think it could have benefited from the HDR? Yeah, I do, because a lot of the scenes take place at night. A lot of the scenes where Godzilla attacks takes place at night. I think you could have seen a little bit better. I think it could have added some depth there as well. That would have improved the overall picture quality. But again, Toho did this restoration, so maybe it was something that they weren't interested in. They didn't want to mess with the look of their movie, so that's why they didn't do it. So maybe Criterion's not even to blame in this scenario. But overall, guys, when I'm looking at the Blu-ray and I'm looking at the 4K, the Blu-ray actually has a lot of like scratches, it looks like, in the film, and they did a lot to clean all that stuff up with this new restoration. So that's all out of it. Like if you remember that back when you watched the Blu-ray from the Criterion, you can tell like there's little scratches like in the film. There's little spots here and there, not the grain, but little just spots and blemishes that you can tell were just a part of the film and how it was kind of, not cleaned up properly the first time. But they really did a lot to clean that up this time, and this is a really nice, clean picture quality. There's tons of great detail on the actual characters themselves, on Godzilla himself. Like there is detail on the 4K that is definitely not present on the Blu-ray for sure. Like you can just see a lot more. I think the 4K does a lot to improve the picture quality here. Now, is this something that you need to upgrade if you already have the Blu-ray and you're happy with it? I don't think it's a monumental 4K. Like I said, without that HDR, like it doesn't look like the Maltese Falcon or anything. Like it's not on that level. Like there's some black and white movies that look so good in 4K. Like it's mind blowing how good that they look. I don't think that's the case with this, but I will say this does clean up a lot of the problems with the Blu-ray from back in 2011. Like this is the cleanest version of Godzilla on 4K for sure. I thought there was some really nice the stuff on the water. Like you can tell a lot more detail with the water and the waves and stuff like that when they're on the water. So I think that there's a lot of great detail here that this 4K adds that the Blu-ray doesn't. But I just don't think it's the most mind-blowing 4K of all time, if that makes any sense. Now, getting into the sound, this does have the Japanese mono track, the 1.0, and I thought it all sounded good. Now, this apparently is the same track, I think, from the Blu-ray. Criterion actually did the sound cleanup here, so they actually did the sound work, and it sounds good. Like for an older film, for a 70-year-old movie, like it sounds great. When Godzilla roars, you hear everything. crystal clear and perfectly fine. So no issues with the sound there. It retained the same sound that it had from the Blu-ray edition back in the day. But getting into the unboxing here, I love the artwork on the cover of this, guys. It is so, so fantastic. I'll show you the spine right there. Show you the other spine. And this is spine number 594. It's very important to do that when you're reviewing a Criterion. And then you got the synopsis on the back. You got all the special features. Now, I will say all the features are the same. If you have that Blu-ray release, all the features are the same. But one cool thing that this has that I did not know it had is Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is a reworking. I think it's from 1956. It's kind of an American reworking of the original Godzilla. So they put a character in the movie that's an American and he speaks English. And then they kind of, add in some footage from the original Godzilla 1954, but it's all from his perspective. I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't watch enough of it to really understand exactly how they kind of incorporated him in with the other movie or the original Godzilla movie. But it's kind of interesting how they did that. And they did that to make it more accessible to an American audience. So they actually injected a new character into Godzilla, the movie, and they kind of made everything that happened in the original Godzilla from his perspective, and then they renamed it Godzilla King of the Monsters. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's just a Blu-ray of that one, so you don't get that one in 4K or anything like that. You have a audio commentary here. You have a bunch of interviews with the actors, guys. I guess they were pretty old when they did the interviews here, even though this was 13 years ago. But you got a good amount of special features with the actors. You have an interview with legendary Godzilla score composer. You have featurette detailing Godzilla's photographic effects. You also have an interview with Japanese film critic Taidoyo Soto. I probably butchered that name, but I actually watched that one. That was a really good interview where he kind of dives into the history of Godzilla and its effects on Japanese culture and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really good interview. But you got The Unluckiest Dragon, an illustrated audio essay featuring historian Greg Pluckfielder describing the tragic fate of the fishing vessel, a real-life event that inspired Godzilla. You got trailers, and you got an essay here as well. So there's great features on this. I'm not saying they needed to add anything new. It would have been nice if they added maybe one new feature, a new visual essay or something, because it is 13 years later. But the features on this are great, and if you don't already have this in your collection, they're definitely worth having. But taking this out of the case, show you the fronts, show you the back right there, open it up. You got Godzilla in the water. And then you got a nice little booklet on the inside with information on the movie. And then if you look at the back, you can see some information on the restoration, which I'll kind of zoom in so you guys can see that Toho did the work here. And yeah, nice booklet right there. But the coolest thing about this release, guys, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I'm a simple man. I like cool packaging gimmicks. I do. And again, I talked about this on my unboxing video or my pickup video I did the other day. But look at this. Look at this. And this might already be on the Blu-ray edition, but I've never seen this. I've never seen anybody show this off. That's cool. The little pop-up head of Godzilla, just the way he looks with the fire and everything. That's super freaking awesome. So I love that. Then you got the discs right there, guys. You got the Blu-ray and you got the 4K. Now the Blu-ray has all the special features on it. But look, overall, guys, I think if you don't have this in the collection, $25 Criterion sale on 4K and you get the Blu-ray with all the special features, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Even at $35, I could probably recommend it because this is such a great movie. And I think the 4K does look good. But I think if you already have this Blu-ray edition from the Criterion Collection, you're happy with the Blu-ray, you already have all the same features that are on here. It's the same packaging. Maybe you don't need it. But again, that's always up to you guys and what you're willing to upgrade to 4K for sure. But thank you all so much for watching this review of Godzilla on 4K from the Criterion Collection. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Comment down below, turn on bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.